Good afternoon, this is Lewis and welcome to part 4 of the series titled You Are What You Think, Cognitive Solutions for Everyday Problems. So what's the goal for today? The goal for today is to learn the 8 types of negative thoughts that cause us unnecessary stress, anxiety, and depression. So I'm going to put up 3 pictures. And those 3 pictures, tell me what's the first thing that pops in your mind when you see those 3 pictures. The first one. Here's the second one. And here's the third one. So what pops in your head? For me, what pops in my head that all these 3 things have in common is danger. And because they are dangerous, I have to respond right now. I have to respond quickly. Now, what does this relate for our thoughts? How does this relate to our thoughts? Our thoughts can be very dangerous. First, they make us feel a certain way, and they make us do certain things that align with that feeling. So we have to be careful what kind of thoughts we allow in our heads. Specifically, thoughts that have no evidence. Thoughts that only think of the negative. Thoughts that only think of the worst and not the positive. Thoughts that think of a negative future rather than a positive. So these are the kind of thoughts that we want to be able to identify. We can't run from a bear unless we know that a bear is dangerous. We can't go inside when we see a storm coming unless we know the damage that a storm can have. Well, the same thing with thoughts. We want to be able to identify what those thoughts are so we can act accordingly, so we can act quickly and not even question it. So that's the goal for today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to speak in detail about the 8 types of thoughts that we should be very, very careful about, and we should run away. So here's the first type of thought. The first type of thought is called disqualifying the positive. These are thoughts that discount the good thing that has happened to us or have done for us for no reason. These are thoughts kind of like, that doesn't count. So let's say if you are going to a party, or you're throwing a party, and everything's going well. You have everything you need, and the guests are coming. However, there's only one wrong thing. One wrong thing. And that is, you forgot to bring a certain type of food, or you couldn't find the dress or the suit that you wanted. So, instead of focusing on all the positive things, that kind of thinking only focuses on the negative. The second type of thought. These are called all or nothing thinking. These are thoughts that look at a situation as black and white. If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. Either I do it right or I don't. So the interesting about these thoughts is that it talks about the whole idea of being perfect. Things are either good or bad. Things are wonderful or horrible. They are delightful or intolerable. It places things in boxes, and there's no middle ground. There's no it's an okay day. It's either it's a terrible day or it's a good day. Here's the third type of thought. It's called overgeneralizing. These kind of thoughts are when if something happens once, it is assumed that's going to happen over and over and over again. So one event dictates that it's going to happen all the time. And these kind of thoughts, let's say if you don't get chosen for a team, or if you don't get into something, the kind of thought is, nothing ever happens good to me. These kind of thoughts have words like every, none, never, always, everybody, and nobody. Such as nobody loves me, everybody's against me, I never do it right. Why is this always happening to me? So those kind of very words that are just sticks to one situation and makes it all the time. The fourth type of thinking we should run away for is called jumping to conclusions. These are the types of thoughts that either they mind read, so they imagine what other people are thinking, or how they're feeling, and fortune telling. So they try to predict the future. So if someone is quiet around you, the thought might be, she hates me. Or if your boss wants you to come into the office, the thought is, they're going to get ready to get me fired. So it's assuming the future, jumping to conclusions, and those kind of thinkings we should definitely run away from, because they cause unnecessary anxiety and stress. The fifth one is called personalization. Personalizing means that you blame yourself or take responsibility for something that wasn't completely your fault. So you're almost relating everything that happens to you. If your friend breaks up with his girlfriend, you think, hey, if I would have been a better friend, if I would have stepped in when they needed me, they wouldn't have broken up. If you're working with a group on a project and the project fails or you don't get a good grade, you know what? It was because I did something wrong. Not the group. I did something wrong. You come to a party and everyone's quiet. Maybe they're quiet because I came in. So you personalize it. You make everything about you. And these thoughts are very dangerous because, again, they cause unnecessary stress, anxiety, and depression. The sixth type of thought that we should always run away from, we should never accept, and you should be very careful for, are thoughts that have shoulds in it. The should thoughts are thoughts that set inflexible rules about how you and others should act. So their sentences like, I should be a perfect friend, parent, girlfriend. I should be a perfect example of kindness. I should never be unselfish. I should be able to handle problems by myself. Another thought would be, I should never feel hurt. So I should never feel emotions. I should never make mistakes. Another big one that I know a lot of us can relate to. So these should statements are very bad kind of thoughts because they set us up for failure. Here's a seventh type of thought. The seventh type of thought is called labeling. So labeling is when you put a name to something or to yourself. Labeling words could be things like failure, idiot, clumsy, loser, incompetent, and useless. The thing that makes labeling very dangerous is because it puts us in a box. And so how do you do well if you consider yourself a failure? How do you win if you consider yourself a loser? So these thoughts will definitely cause anxiety, stress, and depression. The last thought is called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is when an event happens and you think the worst. So you wake up with a headache, I have brain cancer. You come late to a party, everyone's going to hate me. If someone doesn't show up to or leaves you hanging at a party or does not pick you up, you know what? I'm destined to be alone forever. These kind of thoughts also have if statements, such as if that person doesn't pick up the phone, maybe something is wrong. Maybe they got hurt. And if they got hurt, that means that right now there's no one there to take care of them. And if there's no one to take care of them, they could potentially die. And if they potentially die, then I'm going to be without a friend. So catastrophizing, it thinks the worst. So those are the 8 common thoughts that we should be very, very careful about, that we should not accept, that we should run away from. Just like a bear, we run away from those kind of thoughts. Just like a storm, we don't question those thoughts. We replace them, but we identify them first as not good. These are the type of thoughts that they have no evidence. They only look at the negative. They think of the worst, and they only see a future that is bad. So for today's homework, I did a worksheet at the very bottom. And the worksheet is a mix and match. The goal is to read that sentence and say which kind of thought represents that sentence. And then there will be some questions at the bottom to answer so you know that you're on track at remembering the things that need to be learned for today. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you at lesson 5.